Ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome you to the most influential urban conservative talk show in the world. It is the Exceptional Conservative Show. It is live from the nation's capital. I'm your host, the exceptional one, Kim McClinton. My God, what a wonderful day this has been. It has been jam-packed with a lot of stuff happening around the world. I think we mentioned some of that stuff last night. And also Janice Hall on Tuesday tonight. We've been ahead of the game, people. Everybody's just basically catching up now. You got the North Korea thing, you got the China thing, you got the Sunni versus Shia thing, you got the European Union breaking up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? You got Northern Africans leaving by the boatload to enter into Greece and to Italy. You get the French who are shooting people because they have fake belts. And then here in the U.S., you have someone who's stabbing someone. They call it, ladies and gentlemen, the world is on fire. At a time when we should be most safe and most protected, what are we talking about? Gun control. Yeah, people. Yeah, it's that kind of party. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. You know how we open up this particular program, this great party that we do Monday through Thursday. We open it up greeting Mary Brockman, my bouncer, who is in the chat roll. If you diss Mary, you diss me, and you will be dismissed. Love you, Mary. She's also here because her main squeeze will be on in a little bit at 10 p.m. And that is the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones. We'll be talking about Washington, the fall of the Roman Republic and the rise of the Lenin Republic. But before we get all that going, we're going to talk about the man is the party, when there is no room for debate among socialists, communists, and Marxists. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, a big drop today, and I'm not talking about the stock market. The President of the United States let it be known where he stands. And let's see if everyone in the Socialist Party comes to attention. You know what we got to do at this point? Take off your hat, raise your right hand, and put it over your heart. Ladies and gentlemen, we always do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America. Let it be known, let it be said that we are a most patriotic, some call us Philistines, but we most certainly are not. We believe in the United States of America.
Buenas tardes, niños. This is Spanish with Señora Cabrera. Today we will learn how to say the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish. In English, we say, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, in Spanish we say, juro fidelidad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América y a la república que representa, una nación, bajo Dios, indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos. Muy bien. Practice your Pledge of Allegiance, and the more you practice, the faster you will memorize. I'll see you later.
Thank you, Senora Cabrera, and we will see you right now. Those who have tuned in from around the world, you're listening to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. There is much going on in the world, and it's not just. Let me just say this: that the mainstream media has caught up finally. All their wishes have come true. The whole world's burning, and they turn to one man. And let's just be honest: bringing in the sheaves is to be replaced with bringing in the clown at this moment. His name is President Barack Hussein Obama. And somehow people get a thrill up their leg who happen to be African American, colored, Negro, or black when you put president in front of Barack Hussein Obama. It's a sign of respect. You respected him. See, you respected him. Not that he respects the office, but we're supposed to respect him. That's the way it's supposed to be. See, it's a one-way street, and we should be proud that we're on the right way, per se. Well, I want to make this known because around the world, a lot of people, including on conservative radio, they're just catching up to where we are. You know, this amazes me. When you listen to this show, and I don't know if Mary's there right now or Mrs. Biggs is watching probably from USTREAM or live stream if she hasn't. Now, this has been a really tough week for her. She's been very tired. When you listen to this show, we are normally weeks ahead of everybody else. And that's not, and sometimes months ahead and years ahead of other people. And that's not by accident. That's by providence. God has just blessed us uniquely to be ahead of everyone else and to point you in a direction where you should go. And many people who don't choose to go in that direction, well, they suffer the consequences accordingly. I like that, Mary. Precedent, Obama. What a precedent. I will be so thankful the day we have someone else in office and we no longer use that word. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. I'm so sick of that word. But, and I know that other people get larger audiences watching them. You know, and I know I've gotten the scarfs or whatever. Yeah, you're number one kid in DC. And that's cool. That's cool. And I know that there are other people who don't have to be at this level to garner twice, 3, 4, 5, 10 times the audience that we graph. And that's cool. I'm all right with that. But I want that audience to know that if they came here, they would understand more succinctly what's happening in the world. And then be able to be illuminated elsewhere as well. So one of the, and I'll talk with you a little bit later on because there is something on my website that's getting a great deal of attention. And apparently Professor Michael Hughes weighed in on it, especially after there's some, I don't want to go down that rabbit hole just yet. But where I want to go with at this particular juncture is that the President of the United States has made it perfectly clear where he stands on gun control. I mean, that's just obvious. You didn't need the claymation acting performance that was done earlier this week to understand exactly where he stands. But he said something today that should send chills down the spine of any Marxist, socialist, Democrat, urban activist who's always looking out for the best interests of other people. It should send shivers down your spine. Why isn't the rest of the mainstream media picking up on this? Why isn't everyone else talking about this? Well, they'd rather talk about, you know, the subsurface issues. The stock market fell 400 points today. Really? Like we didn't tell you that was going to happen. The economy doesn't look like it's rolling as quickly, and like we didn't tell you that today. Yeah. So we're ahead of that game. So I'm not going to spend too much time, if any, on those particular subject matters tonight. But what I want you to take a look at is a chilling statement that President Barack Obama made this afternoon. And the statement came in an editorial in the New York Times. And Mary, just let me know if anybody else in the conservative, marketplace has talked about this today. You just let me know, Mary, because I haven't heard a single one. Not a single one. In the New York Times op-ed, he stated, I will not campaign for, vote for. Like, who could he vote for except for where he resides? You know what I'm saying? I will not campaign for, vote for, or support any candidate, even in my own party, who does not support common sense gun reform. Now, you all know that common sense in his angle is literally taking the guns out of your hand, and making certain that only a few have. It's not really common sense to us, but it's common sense to him. Gun confiscation it's one of those things, Gun confiscation by medical inducement is one of those particular things. We talked about that last night with our good friend Ralph Chittum Sr., who was on Roland Martin's TV One program earlier this morning. If you get a chance, and hopefully during the breaks I'll look for that, some clips, snips, or whatever of that particular show. But literally, he has laid down the gauntlet not against the Republicans, because Republicans, and except for the rhinos, the socialists that go along with him but want to wear a red tie to let you know that they're down with you. We knew where he was on this the whole time. Remember the quote he made about the Pennsylvanians who were virtually clinging to their guns and their religion? Well, he's not worried about where conservatives are on this issue. President Barack Obama, knowing that he is coming to the end of his reign as tyrant-in-chief, understands that the future is now. And this is one of the things that it just perturbs me, why people in the Republican Party don't understand that. The future is now. And you must make certain that you control the purse, you control the press, and you control the policy. Literally, none shall receive my support. This is what he's saying. I will not campaign for, vote for, or support any candidate, even in my own party. He's not voting Republican, people. He's never voted Republican. You're not going to find him telling Ted Cruz, you almost had my vote until, no, that's not happening. The thing, why this is so important is, first and foremost, it's the New York Times. It's the liberal Bible. And then secondly, why is it important? Is because he needs to set the tone for what happens after he's out of office. This is a community organizer. He's not thinking about passing laws right now. He knows he can't do that. He knows he's not worried about Constitution. He's worried about what's going to happen to the Democrat Party after I leave office, after we've lost the election, and where do we go from here? How do we set the policy? How do we make it conform to socialism? Because once we turn that corner, baby, we're not going back. You're not going to find one socialist who's going to say we need to repeal Obamacare. You're not going to have one socialist say that we need to repeal the 17th Amendment so that the states have a right to speak and be represented. You're not going to have one stand up and say the 16th Amendment is illegal income tax that we need to get rid of. You're not going to hear that. what you're going to constantly hear from this point on, the marching beat for the Socialist Party, which is why Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the congresswoman from Florida, why Secretary of State, former Senator of New York, former First Lady Hillary Clinton won't say, neither one of them will say, what is the difference between the Democrat and the Socialist? Because the truth of the matter is there is none. There is none, so why even ask? We are the Socialist Party of America, and we're moving hard fast to become Marxists, which opens the door to becoming communists. They're not going to tell you that outright, but listen to what he writes. I will not campaign for, vote for, or support any candidate, even in my own party, who does not support common sense gun reform. Now, Obama has moved slowly but surely. And people are asking, well, Ken, how come he didn't just do this in his first 2 years in office? He had the Democrats, they could have done whatever he wanted to. Because they had not broken down the will of those who supported the Constitution. There was a fight for Obamacare, and there was a fight against Obamacare. The first thing he had to break down was the First Amendment. The underground professor and I talked about that so often. The second thing he needed to break down was the will of the people to fight for the 10th and the 9th Amendments. There was no longer a state, everything was federal. You turn to the federal for everything. Now, Ernest, there's a gentleman named Ernest in this particular article, and I'm going to put this article in our vestibule, our wonderful Hobby Lobby type SHR Media Live site. And apparently I need to upgrade so that I can be on the same, or maybe they don't want me to be. I don't know. I'll figure that all out. Same this is a chat room as all the others, but we'll see. We'll see. Putting that in there just now, you have to understand that their enemy is not the National Rifle Association. It's too easy. It is too easy, my friends. They're not looking to fight the NRA. They're looking to consolidate resistance within their own party. You see, it is the role of a tyrant to first throw out the reasonings and offenses against those who are naturally your opponents. But a tyrant must also make certain that those within the party, those within the branches, are following, lest there be a consequence. You know how conservatives always run around talking about, we need to primary our Republicans. If they're not completely conservative, we don't want them. We need to primary them. Get them out in the primary. President Obama didn't even wait for the primaries to begin. President Obama made it essentially clear. The New Democrat which we know as the old socialists, cannot be a part of this party, cannot have access to its wealth, cannot have access to its influence, cannot have access to its strategy. You are out unless you're against guns. That's what the President of the United States has done. And the crazy thing is, we've been telling, as conservatives, the Republicans to do the same thing all these years. And what was the message back to the Republicans? You need a big tent. President Obama is not worried about a big tent anymore because he's literally destroyed the Constitution. What he's planning for is the pen-led or the phone-led, he's got a pen and a phone, overthrow of this particular nation. Now, you all might be thinking, well, Ken, that's offensive, and you're jumping off the block here, and you don't have anything to substantiate that. Ladies and gentlemen, what do you call a nation that does not have a constitution? Well, you certainly don't call it a constitutional federated republic. It's certainly not a nation. When we come back from the break, I'm going to show you how the Communist Party creates the role for its branches and how this president is preparing to create the roles for the new Socialist Party of America, formerly called the Democrat Party under Andrew Jackson. Ladies and gentlemen, he's ready to move forward with the Third World Human Rights Agreement. I hope you're ready, because he's laying down the first anvil and made it very abundantly clear. You are not a Democrat unless you obey. We'll be right back with more of the best in urban conservative talk right after these messages.
Right swipe. It's gonna be a right swipe. This man just shaved his chest hair into a heart. Oh, you stole mine. Right swipe.
Right swipe. Right swipe. That kind of looks like my sister. It does. But I know she's not.
He's cuddling a kitten. God, I wanna eat their faces.
Oh, she's hot.
Oh, wait. Oh.
That's a lollipop. Oh, that is not a lollipop. Left swipe.
Left swipe.
Good black.
Let's swipe that. You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. Check the stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
look at you with your shirt off, flexing. You're buff, but you puff. Hashtag perplexing. Yeah, you work out, you're in shape. Okay, I like the 6-pack abs, not the 6 packs a day.
Came across the photo with this green-eyed hottie. Whole nine, pretty face, tight waist, nice body. But I just couldn't overlook one small fact.
She smokes like an old man at a racetrack.
This must be some kind of joke. If you think you're not tight, and I'm not tight. If you're done in the class, no. I just left twice. I just left twice.
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. Check the stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
Mr. World Traveler, your trips look expensive. Sitting on a mountaintop looking all pensive. I was about to ask, how's the air up there? But based on this pic, I guess you don't really care.
Lots of chicks in the pic, not sure which one's you. Them cigarettes are taking y'all from 10s to 2s. And one thing's true about your whole crew. None of you cigarella's gonna be my boo.
Smoking with a tiger
Let's swipe that.
while you're on a hang glider.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking while acting healthy.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking all stealthy
Let's swipe that.
Smoking with a duck face.
Let's swipe that.
at a monster truck race.
Let's swipe that.
Smoking at the prom.
Let's swipe that.
Even at a photo bomb.
He don't care. Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah.
You gotta swipe it
Let's
left.
swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left. Check the stuff I don't like, so I gotta
Let's swipe that.
You gotta swipe it left.
Yeah. Hashtag.
I'll never remember you.
The Black NRA.
Our fund will put guns into the hands of those that need them most.
Young black men.
Young black men.
Young black males.
Guys, I have over 20 black friends. I intend to give them all guns.
The Black NRA? What the what? So these liberals have come up with a separate group called the Black NRA.
I see the Democrats still have an ongoing fetish for segregation.
Why would the NRA need to arm blacks that are already armed?
But it's okay for you guys to pigeonhole blacks and imply how dangerous it is for blacks to have guns.
Guns you already admit they have. Because we figured they must already have the guns.
To prove that they're dangerous with them.
Yet when we point out that American blacks commit more violent crime against each other
more than any other ethnicity in America,
We're racist or self-loathing.
Hey, I guess Frederick Douglass should have never been a marshal because he's black and too irresponsible to have a gun. Or Bass Reeves, or the Tuskegee Airmen.
if young black men are too stupid to have guns, God forbid we make them fighter pilots.
Yeah, man.
and stop it with the race baiting inflammatory nonsense about Trayvon wanting some tea and Skittles.
He got those items because he wanted to mix them with some cough syrup so he can get high.
He tweeted it himself.
That's certainly no reason for him to be shot.
But his life is worth more than you trying to make him out to be a race baiting tool.
We understand that in your fantasy world,
You like to change facts to suit your narrative, like trying to play Jesus as you perform the miracle of changing watermelon flavored cocktail into tea.
so you won't look like the racist you are.
Perpetuating the stereotype of blacks having a special appetite for watermelon in the first place.
And also changing George Zimmerman from being Hispanic to white to escalate racial tension.
Your piece wasn't funny.
It's depressing to see people trying to appear smart while saying stupid things.
Not only are you saying stupid things, you willfully ignore the truth and try to drag others into your bitter ignorance.
Liberals tend to want to promote the divisive idea that the NRA is the KKK.
But the truth is that the NRA was founded by abolitionists, Union military Republicans. The Democrats hated them.
Because the NRA welcomed blacks into the organization.
The NRA knew that the freed blacks would need protection from the Democrat-founded KKK.
And the Democrats back then did not want blacks to have guns. And it looks like not much has changed with the Democrat Party. Except for now, the Democrats have learned that it's more effective to use blacks to promote their message.
The Democrat Margaret Sanger, founder of Planned Parenthood, laid the groundwork for that.
And we know how much Sarah Silverman loves abortion.
Sanger said, we don't want the word to go out that we're trying to exterminate the Negro population, and we'll use colored ministers to help keep them in line.
So they won't rebel against us.
And the suckers who took part in that video are the very pawns of Sanger's prophecy.
The NRA isn't about arming criminals.
A criminal will arm himself.
Outside of your well-meaning but very naive and ultimately tyrannical laws.
The NRA is about arming people to defend themselves from suckers like you.
Foolish accomplices who promote the agenda of imposing more laws to limit Second Amendment rights.
Until the people have minimal protection.
From not only emboldening criminals who don't care about your laws,
But also from an emboldened government.
and history shows that when a government is going to subjugate their people, they disarm them first.
And they use geniuses like the liberals in that video to do it.
We see people saying, can't you take a joke?
Naive and shallow people ask that, not realizing that these people hide behind being comedians to cowardly get away with advancing a political agenda.
And it's working, especially on people like you.
Excuse them for just being comedians.
Oh my God.
And as far as the NRA just killing innocent people,
They don't have a track record of doing that.
that distinction goes to Democrats, assorted left-wingers, and people who really don't care to even know the difference.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Zonation. The Black NRA, more like the fake NR. We'll be back.
Hi, my name is Christopher Arnold. I'm the executive chef of Infused Restaurant, and today I'm gonna walk you through some of the meals that we prepared here. We're making a pizza. We use French Italian sausage that they cook here and slice it up. Our pizza dough is in-house made. Our pizza sauce is in-house made. So everything is fresh and ingredients. chicken. The sauce is made with coconut milk and the Thai red curry. It is juicy chicken thighs as well as some mixed vegetables, served with jasmine rice and pita bread. So now we're going to prepare our famous blackened tilapia and grits, our fish and grits on the menu. Once the fish is ready, then our meal will be complete. Let me tell you about our infused beef burger. When we kick the spice up just a little bit with our infused sauce, we start off with 80-20 USDA ground chuck ham patty burgers, like half a pound of burgers, and we're going to grill it to perfection. After I flip the burger, we add the sauce and let it cook on into the meat next to the pan. We're going to add a little bit of pepper jack cheese to this burger, spice it up a bit. Order up!
Order up, people. Order up. Yes, this is the night to do it. This is the weekend to be infused. 6339 Allentown Road, Temple Hills, Maryland, 20748. Telephone number 301-449-9000. 301-449-9000. Infuse.com. I want to let y'all in on a little secret. There is a good friend of mine, Toby Nightstorm, who is a illustrious faith leader down in Atlanta, Georgia, Atlanta, GA. The 404 code, I guess. I don't know. Well, he's coming all the way. He's bringing his wife. She and he will be marching with my wife and I in the Martin Luther King Day Parade here in Washington, D.C., as we fight against unsolved homicides or unresolved homicides, however way you wish to say it, exploited children, and missing persons cases. And in fact, we learned earlier this morning, I learned this morning when I got into the office, that an 11-year-old boy was snatched from his home in Southeast Washington, D.C. At 7 o'clock last night. He went outside apparently to play, and I don't know why, but nonetheless, he went outside. He was snatched. We have not seen him, and in fact, I want to go to that particular mention here, and I'm going to be doing that a lot during the course of this year. I really am. There are so many children that are out there that need to be found, and we're going to try to help and do our very best. There'll be other things that I will tell you about in the coming days, but I plan on taking my good friend Toby and his wife to Infuse Restaurant when they come up, and we're going to talk about a lot of things in the coming days. But I want to tell you also, critical missing person Brooklyn Johnson is the child's name. Now, Brooklyn Johnson is an 11-year-old. He was snatched approximately 7 p.m. last night from out of the 4200 block of Hildreth Street Southeast. The 4200 block of Hildreth Street Southeast, Hildreth Street Southeast. And I'll put this in the chat roll for people who are following along at home. I don't want you all to miss this, and I want you all to get it out from around the world. In addition to that, he is 5 feet tall, pretty tall young fella for 11 years old. He's 5 feet tall, 80 to 85 pounds, with black hair and a high top fade style and brown eyes. He was last seen wearing a white polo shirt, tan pants, black Jordan tennis shoes, and a multicolored backpack. Anyone with information regarding the whereabouts of Brooklyn Johnson is asked to call the Metropolitan Police Department at 202-727-9099 or the Youth and Family Services Division at 202-576-6768. Or if you find him in a precocious situation, one that requires immediate remedy, call 911. We want to bring Brooklyn Johnson home. So make certain that you help us in doing that. You can always go to our affiliate page at theexceptionalconservativeshow.com. You can easily go to Open Heart Closed Case. You can click there. It will take you directly to our Facebook page where we will keep you abreast of all of those who are missing. And we're going to try to do it around the country, but you know my heart is in Washington, D.C. So the first one that we're talking about in the new year is Brooklyn Johnson, an 11-year-old who was snatched from his home in the 4200 block of Hildreth Street, Southeast Washington, D.C. last night at 7 p.m. Would you bring him home? Just drop him off in front of the house and speed off, but bring him home. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back right after this.
I'm a good person. I never bothered anybody. But I can't afford a nice house in a safe neighborhood. I live in a government high-rise. Gangbangers and drug dealers walk down our halls every day. My neighbors and I were scared. We called the police, but they can't keep us safe. Some of us are too afraid to even leave our apartments. But the housing authority told me if I bought a gun to protect myself, they throw me to the streets. If I'm not free because of my address today, what makes you think you'll be free tomorrow? I marched behind Martin Luther King at Selma. I know my rights. Now I have my gun. I am the National Rifle Association of America, and I'm freedom's safest place.
Ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you back to the Exceptional Conservative Show live from the nation's capital. We are certainly not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation, first to the Republican and then the Socialists. Our president, Barack Hussein Obama, made it abundantly clear today that you cannot at once be a Democrat and also be a gun owner. You cannot. See, now, when I said that you couldn't be a Christian who believed in socialism, people were like, oh my God, how evil can he be? President Obama just said you cannot be a Democrat and be pro-gun. And Mary's absolutely right. Too many children are targets of Satan. He knows where to hit us, where it hurts. You're absolutely right. So what Obama is saying is, if you believe in God and self-defense, you can't register Democrat. That's what he's saying to you. Now, I know some of you all will fight me tooth and nail on the last day. You will come to me and say, hey, Ken, you're wrong. But I'm right. I'm right. There are people who talk about our gun laws are so lenient. And they are. But that was for a purpose. So that our government wouldn't turn on us. But every single day, our government turns on us. You tell me. In Japan, gun control advocates regularly cite Japan's highly restrictive firearm regulations in tandem with its extraordinarily low gun homicide rate, which is the lowest in the world. But you can afford to do that when you have the big guns of the military from the United States protecting you. I'm just telling you that you can say that. However, even Japan realizes it can't defend itself under a hostile regime like the Obama administration they're moving towards nuclear energy. And why do they have to move towards nuclear energy? Shouldn't they just wait till someone bombs them and then fight back then? That's the message from the loyal left who want to install gun control. No, they realize as a nation that their first responsibility is to protect its borders. Well, guess what? My first responsibility as a husband is to protect my borders in which my wife lives. Why is it that the state doesn't want me to protect my wife? Why is it that the state doesn't want me to protect my children? And in fact, turn my wife and my children into agents for the state whenever they go see their doctor. Yes, you are now state-owned property because healthcare says that if a doctor asks, because he's required to, if you have a gun in your home and you have children, don't you think that he's going to pick up the phone and call Child Protective Services? Probably so. Yes, he will. Why? I know you've been seeing Doc Joe for 40 years. He wouldn't do such a thing. Really? When all of your income is based on your profession, and your profession, in order to receive reimbursement for a service, must ask that question, don't you think he will tell? Yeah, he will. He wants to get paid. Now, he doesn't mean it personal, but he's in a bad situation. You see, I voted for Obama. I didn't know he was going to be this cruel, but I got to do it because I'm part of the state. And when I ask you this question, you become a part of the state because now you have to give up the truth. Don't you think Junior's going to sit in there and say, Doc Joe, yeah, Dad's got a couple of guns in the back rack, boy. He loves hunting. Is hunting going to be the thing that's reported? No, a threat to the household you are. Don't you think one of the questions might be, don't you drink a little? Why do you think they want to go through the realm of mental health? Because alcoholism and drug abuse are a part of mental health. Why do they want to legalize drugs? Because not for your security and not for you to get well, because I don't care how much marijuana you smoke, it will not get rid of your cancer. They're doing that to open the doors, the Pandora box, for doctors to become agents of the state and ask you. You're not going to lie to the doctor because you want to get well. They know that. Why do you think he's attacking the HIPAA laws now? Because he knows that. Let me go in here real quick. Dr. Jones, underground professor, come on, and he'll make more logical sense than I'm making, I guess. According to United Kingdom, modern gun control efforts in the United Kingdom have been precipitated by extraordinary acts of violence that sparked public outrage and eventually political action. In August 1987, a lone gunman armed with 2 legally owned semi-automatic rifles and a handgun went on a 6-hour shooting spree roughly 70 miles west of London, killing 16 people and then himself. In the wake of the incident, known as the Hungerford Massacre, Britain introduced the Firearms Amendment Act, which expanded the list of banned weapons, including certain semi-automatic rifles, and increased registration requirements for other weapons. However, the effectiveness of Britain's gun laws and gun crime reduction over the last 25 years has stirred ongoing debate. Analysts note that the number of such crimes grew heavily in the late 1990s and peaked in 2004 before falling each subsequent year. While tighter gun control removes risk on an incremental basis, said Peter Squires, a Brighton University criminologist, in an interview with CNN, significant numbers of weapons remain in Britain. They're coming for you. When your government comes for you, the Founding Fathers said you have a remedy. Either the Fifth Amendment or the Second. Now I want to bring up the Communist Party. Now, in 1955, Brian Reed, Brian Reed and Chris Clayton wrote these particular works. This was the course for branch secretaries and branch officials. Why coursework for the role of branches within the Communist Party? Because unlike the Republican Party of today, where we can debate issues and debate whether it's a living, breathing document called the Constitution or whether it is a certifiable construct of the Founding Fathers, period, that should be followed even in today, there are those who understand totalitarianism needs but one seed, and that's the seed of fear. Fear against security. And people that choose security over liberty normally lose both of those. Social security, welfare, food stamps, government contracts. The aim of this syllabus, they wrote in terms of preparation, is to assist in the education and training of the leading cadres in the party branches, particularly the branch secretaries. You have to understand, in totalitarianism, it's cute that you really think differently, but by golly, you better think the one way when we ask you the question, i.e. your doctor. Just saying, I'm just saying to you. It is proposed that all present branch secretaries should attend schools on this syllabus. What? What are you saying? Yeah, I'm going to have to be re-educated? Guess what? Yes, you are. Democrats, you're going to have to go through re-education in order to become the socialist that they want you to be. I know what you're thinking. Ken, you're just over the top tonight. No, I'm telling you what's coming down the pike. You're going to wish you were a conservative like me when they get finished with you. Districts should arrange that schools on the syllabus should be organized periodically for all new branch secretaries who should attend such schools as soon as possible after taking up their duties. Number 3, that these schools should, where possible, be weekend schools of 3 sessions. Where this is not possible, they should take the form of day schools of 3 successive evenings. Did you know that maybe some of those meetings that are happening at your public library are these types of meetings? Where people are being reconditioned, re-educated, recultured? Number 4, that this syllabus should normally serve as the basis for 3 meetings and discussions, but that wherever it is found necessary, further discussion meetings should be held to complete the syllabus. And then number 5, that the handbook for members of the Communist Party forging the weapon should be closely studied in relation to the syllabus. Obama is changing the Democrat Party into a socialist party. That's why Hillary and Debbie Wasserman Schultz and anyone else you ask in the Democrat Party do not want to answer. There are 2 groups of people in that role. Number 1, those who just can't believe it. I can't, but no. I'm going to ask him. And when I ask him, he going to tell me. And then there's the other group who are feverishly trying to kill that one group out so that there's only one socialist party. Pay attention, people. The lessons of history. They say that the study of the British labor movement shows that the Communist Party emerged as a historic necessity for the British working class in order that the British people should advance to socialism. You see, the education movement or the re-education movement goes on the ideal that capitalism did not work. Now, I went to the grocery store this evening and I saw a litany of options for food, for drink, seafood, meats, even vacation items. You wouldn't have that on the shelves of a socialist community. You wouldn't. So the whole idea is, first and foremost, and watch how the term middle class and working class are arbitrarily moved about. Oh my God, I'm gonna run out of time. Things move so quickly on my show. Working class is changed to middle class. And so you'll have governments that begin to put out documentation that says that they want to help you get into the middle class. When they're really not wanting you to get into the middle class, they want you to be a part of the proletariat. They want you to be a part of the working class. They want you to be a part of the socialist movement against the struggle. What are the weaknesses in capitalism? They call it the labor movement, but we'll call it capitalism. What are the weaknesses? Number one, according to them, that often the mass organizations, trade unions, cooperatives, and later the Labor Party, lack a conscious, scientific, socialist leadership. Good God Almighty. Can I put that in there? Can I put that in there? What is Obama after? What is Obama after? He did not go after you today. He went after you on Tuesday when he told you he was going to disarm you. He went after the leadership today. And what he said to them is, you're not conscious, you're not scientific, you are a threat. And if you don't get in line with our socialistic thoughts, we will erase you from our leadership. That's what he said to them today. And he put it in writing. You may not think it true, but he put it in writing for you to know, quite frankly, that he was sending out a message loud and clear. He doesn't care if it is his last year in office. The only thing he cares about now is that you get in line. And here's the number two part. The Marxist socialist organizations which came into existence in the 1880s tended to restrict their activities to those of propaganda and were often cut off from the mass movement, were often sectarian. Ladies and gentlemen, tentacles in every aspect of the culture. They laughed at the conservative evangelical preachers of the day of the 1980s talking about we're going into a culture war. Oh my God, if we could just apologize to them. They were right. We're in a culture war. Just as the Sunni and the Shia are fighting to determine who's going to be in charge of the caliphate and taking over land from China to the Atlantic Ocean, inclusive of Europe and North Africa, there are those totalitarians, tyrants, who are thinking right now in the U.S. how much more powerful we could be if we make everyone think this way. And they're working on it, not just in propaganda, not just with the mainstream media, but they're even working with some of the conservative talk show hosts who are thinking out loud. Maybe there are some common sense solutions. No, the only common sense solution is that you defend yourself. Why am I so upset tonight? Because the things that I say tonight, you won't hear on anyone else's show for another 2 to 3 weeks. And by the time you hear them and you listen to them and you say, oh, well, that guy's been in it for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. By the time you hear what they say, already the socialists have moved 2 or 3 steps ahead. But who's going to listen to a little man like me in Washington, D.C., who recognizes on a daily basis the quid pro quo of the socialists? How they sit in your face, how they look you dead straight in the eye, and all the time, they wish they could get rid of you. And now their party leader has made abundantly clear, if you don't toe the line on the party, you might be towed on a line someplace else. You certainly will not receive their support. Obama may have been the greatest thing for gun sales, but he may also be the greatest thing for the establishment to sign up and register folk as Democrats, still contemplating the idea, or at least Republicans, still contemplating the idea that they're Democrats. Baby, the war that has just started is very civil. It will become very uncivil very soon. You're listening tonight to The Exceptional One, live from Washington, D.C., bold enough to tell you these things well before anyone else, and just sitting back, waiting for the world to catch up. Listen, we'll be back with more of this incredible program with Dr. Michael Jones on our board, but we also want to thank our great providers of listenership around the country. And let me go to my homepage so I can get these names right. All right. Thank you. Rebooting Liberty, High Plains Talk, SHR Media, The Voice of Liberty, BLUBRRY, and Stitcher. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back right after this interlude. Kick it, G. You know you want this. Oh, welcome back, people. This is the best urban conservative talk show in the world. There is none other. You can look. You can waste your time trying, but you won't find none like it. Thank you, Mary. That was a fast first hour. 3-hour show. Oh, my God. I won't tell her. Wow. But with the stuff happening the way it is right now, hey, I wish I could give you 3 hours to tell you about all the stuff that's going on. I wish we could talk about, I think I'm going to try to talk with about Maris. The transgender phenom who's spending $87,000 on plastic surgery, including more than 150 lip and cheekbone filters, 4 breast implants, 2 rounds of liposuction, and at least 1 butt lift. Transgendered woman. Wow. Vanity. It's all vanity. Ladies and gentlemen, in a few moments we'll be talking with none other than the great one himself, Dr. Michael Jones. I'm not Mary. I can't believe. And Dr. Michael Hughes tried to debate me on psychology. Did he not know I studied psychology? Come on. That's why sometimes we just need to stay in our lane. Stay in your lane. What? Oh my goodness. There we go. Hold on a second. Let me go do this. See, one day I'm gonna have my own staff. And they will be floating around me, and they will say, "Oh, Ken, what is it? Do you need something to drink? Do you need some food? Oh, we are blessed by your 2 hours of airtime." We are not ashamed of the good news of conservatism, for it is the power of liberation. First to the Republican and then the Socialist. You know what we do at this time? We take off our hats, our beautiful hats. This is nice. I like that. I really do. Did I say that? Okay, you should order your own. Okay. Um, and if you do this on the slide, you can't do it because we're trademarked. Can't do it without my permission. So there you go. So if you're doing it on a future Caitlin, thank you. Marissa is a future Caitlin. We want to talk about that with only the professor can I logically talk about this with such buffoonery that it's actually understandable and conceptually discerning. You know, only he can I do that with. And actually, you're getting a sneak preview of this weekend's New Day Black and Red at 5 p.m. on WNJC 1360 AM out of the wonderful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, the beautiful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, and broadcasting to New Jersey and to Delaware. My good host is coming up in just one moment. Let me get him on the air now because, I don't want to have him wait. You know, he is one of the most powerful men in conservative talk. So powerful that he made me eat his steak. So that's how powerful he is. And I was embarrassed, but I think after a while it was worth it. So there you go. Did we? We didn't pledge allegiance, did we? Oh my goodness. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There we go.
Play ball.
Yeah! On this exceptional night, none other than the best professor in America, the underground professor, yes, my co-host on New Day Black and Red on WNJC 1360 AM out of the wonderful city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, none other than the great Dr. Michael Jones. Good evening, sir.
You know, a few minutes ago I was thinking, I'm going to text you and let you know that this Thursday I want to talk about the Article 5. I forgot today was Thursday.
Well, actually, if you did, we didn't talk, and I'm glad we do this. Actually, everything that we do is by divine providence. It really is. And
I forgot it's Saturday, isn't it?
Yes, it's Saturday.
9 o'clock on Thursday, it turns into Saturday because of the Mason-Dixon line.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's the war between the sadists. Actually, tonight's segment for you and I is entitled Washington, D.C., the Fall of the Roman Republic and the Rise of the Lenin Republic. So that...
Did I hear you say Satan?
Close enough!
Because I tell you, I paid all the alimony and child support I am to her. Another dime.
You know, I always love that joke about how, well, Satan came into the church and everybody ran out, and there was one guy on the front row who didn't. And Satan asked the guy, "Why didn't you run when I came in? Am I not scary enough for you?" He said, "I was married to your sister."
Amen. Ain't afraid anymore. After what I got put through here on earth, I'm pretty sure God's got me a special seat up there at the table.
With nice.
I may go to heaven in the short bus, but by God, I've earned my trip to heaven.
But your bus will have a TV in it, so that's all that matters.
I hope so. I just watched that Nicolas Cage movie, Guarding Tess, and it's shocking how much my mom reminds me of her.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, I can't forget who that was that played it. Not Shirley Temple, but something like that. I forget who played Tess. You know the movie I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It sure reminded me a lot of my mom.
Wow. Listen,
Yeah.
sir. Article 5, because it's amazing that we are talking about so many things tonight, because I do want to talk with you about a lady named Marissa. Or actually, it was a guy.
Right, we don't have to change the subject. Whatever you want to talk about, we can do Article 5 next Thursday.
No. That Article 5 fits for what we're talking tonight. Because the reason I brought up, I'm sorry, today is Saturday at 5 p.m.
That's right. Drive time. Boy, you are dumb. D-U-M dumb.
Oh my! They will never.
See the walk picture of Bill Cosby?
No, I didn't.
Yep, they're escorting him, and he's holding a cane in his hand, not using it. He's holding it up, and they're holding each elbow. And he has such a look of betrayal on his face, like he can't believe he's been betrayed like this. I'm like, wow. He's probably really not. That's not what he's thinking. What he's really thinking is, how the hell did Bill Clinton get away with this, and I can't.
Well, it's called he was voted into office. So there you go. Once you're voted, you know the number one.
Bill Clinton was the first black president, and Bill Cosby ain't.
Exactly. See, there you go. Color matters.
I know that's
right. The number one book that's read every year at the UN. You'll be surprised by this. All of us think it's a Bible right about here, but it's not.
Heather has two mommies.
That was number 3 on the list. Number 1 actually is immunity against crimes, both international and national.
Oh yeah. Now, when you consider that the UN is comprised mostly of thugs and tyrants, and the fact that they have immunity in America for crimes committed, pretty much, traffic and all that, then that I wouldn't be surprised at all if there isn't a course when you join the UN or become a new appointee that you get to sit there and go through some kind of training on how you can screw over America and its laws and cost us lots of money.
Exactly.
I bet Bill Obama's probably read that too. He's not an American.
Yeah, 3 or 4 times. Speaking of not American, because actually I want to talk biblically about tyrants after we have our conversation. And you will interestingly listen to what I have to say this week.
Bated breath.
You will not look at me as if I am preaching a sermon and you can go to sleep. So
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
All right, I want to talk about I love you, Professor. And I also want to share love to the benevolent dictator, Rick Trader, who's producing today's show. Just a lovable human being who I love brown nosing with as often as I possibly can. So there.
So you were such a racist.
Didn't say blackness.
Rick Trader, the epitome of white privilege, and you're bringing in race about brown nosing.
Well, it all fits with Article 5. It all fits with Article 5 and tyrants. But Marissa is spending $87,000 to improve her look. She's a transgendered woman. In fact, let me play the clip. This is BTV's clip. They interviewed Marissa. It's a few minutes long, but I want to make it very plain to you. This is a guy, and if Professor goes into the chat room at the Exceptional Conservative Show, he'll be able to see the picture of the guy who was turned down for the State Farm commercial. They went with Caitlyn Jenner.
Yeah, and you heard what happened to him lately, right?
What happened?
Bruce has said that he had his junk cut off, and now he doesn't want to be a woman anymore. He hates it.
Wow. You know,
yeah, he's saying that it was a bad choice. He was mixed up. He should never have been allowed to do it. So, yeah, I guess he's already gone through all his money or something. Now he's got to try something new.
Wow.
And then his daughter, that model,
yeah,
you know, Kaylee Jenner or whatever. Now she's come out of the closet as being lesbian, so I guess she needs money. So, yeah. Successive days, she's accepted that she's a lesbian, and when she has kids, she's not going to be like her big sister or her cousin or whatever, and she's going to quit Instagram when she has babies.
We want to introduce to you how broken spiritually, how broken constitutionally, how broken this nation really is, how we have descended from the edifice of the Roman Republic into a state of Leninism. I'm going to open that. Thank you, sir. John Leninism. We don't need no God. This is Marissa. Okay, all right. We're going to...
I'm sorry, what?
Thank you, sir.
I'm trying to listen. Is this your biblical response?
No, this is not my biblical response, sir. Now you're waiting with bated breath. Here is the...
I have, you see? Now I've wasted all that bated breath.
The BTV interview of Marissa.
Every day, you're breathing 20,000 breaths.
All right, we don't want to do that one. Okay, never mind. Let me put that on silence and let the commercial run through real quick. But
your letters of complaint to Rick Trainer.
Rick Trainer.
WNJC.
What kind of production work is this? Ladies and gentlemen, the small fortune of being great broadcasters. It plies itself right about here. But Article 5 is what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to talk about the tyranny that actually created this particular situation. But part of that tyranny is the cultural war, the moral war that was fought against those who happen to be on the right by those who are on the left. And here are the winners. One of the winners happens to be a guy named Marissa.
No, non sono contento del mio corpo perfetto, perché non è perfetto. La mia perfezione è un'altra cosa.
All right, so we're not going to do that. I apologize. I apologize.
I'm glad to see you spent some time on your prep today.
I thought I had the English version. I apologize. I apologize.
Good. I thought I had too much rum tonight. I was like, holy crap, I got to cut the rubber.
All I just want to say to you is, and we'll move on from here, the transgender woman, Fluvia Pellegrino, will stop at nothing to look perfect. The 56-year-old Italian woman, transgender woman, we'll go with that, has spent 11 years and $87,000 on plastic surgery, including 150 lip and cheekbone filters, 4 breast implants, 2 rounds of liposuction, and at least 1 butt lift, according to a Barcroft.
Partridge in a pear tree.
She says, I am not happy with my perfect body, although she looks like she could play the WWE, because it is not perfect. Perfection is something else. I want to look like Alana Starr, an American transgender porn star. Plastic surgery... You got you got my standards. Plastic surgery is not a drug, but it's something that people like me need.
I just saw her picture. It's picture. Okay, Alana Starr, I get. This thing.
Wow.
Oh my God.
You have dogs that look prettier.
If I had a dog that was like that, I'd shave its butt and teach it to walk backwards.
Oh. So, sir.
To look perfect. What does she think perfect is? Look at those lips.
But isn't that what the people?
Oh my gosh!
Isn't that what the people?
Those lips are like racist.
Hey, bubble.
Oh my God! Those are mush mouth is
probably exactly.
Chick's hot.
Hey, Bible, you look very good. All of that money striving for perfection has changed the gender, has changed the body portions, and still not satisfied. That's what the left wants people to do. Stretch out for perfection in the terms of the culture that they create, the images that they create. And right now, we have a nation that was once a federated constitutional republic. And today, it looks like nickname Marissa. His lips are bulging, breasts are all concocted, the body is completely out of proportion. Nothing fits. And we're wondering why the world is so broken, sir.
Wow. I'm sorry, I just can't get past that. That is freaking freaky.
That's an ugly man.
He was ugly as a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, changing your gender does not improve your looks. It doesn't.
No, not your gender, your sex. Let's remember that gender is masculine, feminine, and neuter. And but sex, because we're using the word wrong because they want to change our language in order to justify it and get around what's really happening.
Exactly.
Your sex is either male or female, or you're not. You're asexual or you're male or female.
Exactly. Thank you, sir. I appreciate being corrected by the professor.
That's what I do.
That's only you.
I'm sure that's why you keep having me on.
That's right. But apparently I was told, because I want to point something out for those WNJC listeners and on Conservative Commandos Radio Network and SHR, High Plains Talk, and so many other 24/7 AM, FM, and all the other stations that we're playing upon this afternoon at 5 p.m. For New Day Black and Red. My cousin happens to be a liberal professor. And I got into a debate with him regarding the transgendered woman. And his statement to me was, well, Kenneth, in the earlier DSM manuals, it was considered a deviant behavior. And homosexuality and transgendered are different things. And Freud is not the end-all, be-all of psychology. Just thought I'd bring you up to speed on those issues. Now, I ask you, sir, if you have a problem with your identity, does it matter if you are sexual or seeking to change gender? You have a problem with your identity.
And that means you need help, not an operation.
Exactly.
It means you've got a chemical imbalance in your brain. And notice that they have taken off homosexuality. They even want to take out pedophilia.
Yes.
There's actually a movement to remove pedophilia from it. And but they want to put in people who are ex-military and people who are Christian and people who are Tea Party. They want to list those as mental diseases and reasons why you shouldn't be able to own a gun. And but these other things, they arbitrarily changed it after they had been listed as deviancies for decades. They arbitrarily decided that it wasn't politically correct, and they changed it. Not because anybody had been healed or they realized it was a mistake, but just because the Democrat Party was the one funding these things and through government, and the government was telling them, you're going to change this or you won't get funding. So they did it.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to parlay this into a different conversation that will eventually lead us to the Articles 5 conversation in the Tyrant Biblical Studies. Because
Before you change, though, let me say one thing real quick. This reminds me of what's going on in Islam right now.
Okay.
You hear about they just executed a guy over in, I forget where now, but it was one of these Islamic, probably Iran, but it was one of these Islam nations. They executed a man for being homosexual, right? His crime was that he allowed men to commit pederasty against him. And what had happened was some Islamic soldiers of Allah raped him, and as a punishment, right? And they do this. I mean, think about it. They do this all the time. That's what they did to Muammar Gaddafi. Even, you know, after they captured him, they raped him, and this is what these people do. But the man survived the rape, so they killed him as being homosexual, even though they did not punish any of the militants that committed the act as being homosexual. And that all ties into the same thing that we're looking at over here. This is where we're heading down this path.
The whole identity issue is being exemplified at several levels. We can see it in the psychology, the world of psychology, where people have basically, for political affluence and as well economic ease, have allowed individuals to act in a manner that is uncivil in our society and unacceptable spiritually. And in addition to that, we're beginning to look at a government that is beginning to treat its citizenry as if they have misidentified the power of the government. And I wanted to ask you in that regard, in the beginning, when our founding fathers started this particular experiment, the intent was that the individual was the possessor of the power, and that it was the state's responsibility to protect the individual. When did it switch over to us protecting the collective for the sake of the state?
When the Fabian Socialists started infiltrating government and education in our country. But let's be more specific. The government's job is to protect our lives, liberty, and property in that order. And that doesn't mean cradle to grave, and it doesn't mean to protect me from my own stupid things like making mandatory seatbelt laws or banning smoking. What it means is that if the government's job is to protect me from foreign and domestic enemies and terrorists, and to keep us in a reasonably safe fashion so that I can practice my craft, my trade. I can use my labor, which is my property, to my best advantage. And that's what government is for. It's not to make all my decisions or to tell me what should be in a school lunch or what I should eat or how much I should eat of it. You know, it's okay for government to recommend and say, hey, we've done studies and this is what we think, but it's not okay for them to pass laws. It's not okay for them to know what I do or how much I earn or how much, how many guns I have or how many cows I have. It's none of their business. And I'm kind of stuck on that lately because I keep running into people who think I'm an idiot when I say that it's not the government's business. And I'm thinking, oh my God, we are in so much trouble. And, you know, if you can't even agree with me that the government probably shouldn't be doing these things, then we are really behind the Powerball here.
Exactly. Now, we do have a president who wrote in the New York Times today, who stated... Is
it tear-stained?
Huh?
Is it tear-stained, what he wrote?
It was, and they did have to air dry it, but they finally were able to read it.
I sent you?
Yes, I did.
I now use a can of Obama tears to clean my clean.
Oh my! Oh, I'm sorry, but I know that half the world leaders at the United Nations must have rolled all over the floor when they saw that.
Oh, was just like Bill Clinton. Remember when he was leaving the funeral? Who was it? Vince Foster or somebody's funeral, and Bill Clinton looked up and they was laughing with some Jew guy he was walking with. I forget who, but I think he was Jewish. Sandy or something like that. And they're walking, and he looks up and sees a camera on him, and within one step, he starts crying.
Wow.
And instead of laughing at the joke that was just said, now he's got a tear running down his eyes, and he's very remorseful. And you remember Rush Limbaugh had his TV show back then. He played that over and over and over, how in one step Bill Clinton was able to do that. Well, that's all this crap was. It was prefabricated and phony, and you know, and if you believe that, then you know, good Lord,
what else will you do?
There's just no hope for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I want to get you to the point here where we're discussing tyranny through the eyes of that particular man, because he made very clear today in the New York Times that you can't be you cannot be a Democrat and support the Second Amendment.
Well, and he's right though. If you think about it, he is absolutely right. You cannot be a Democrat today. Oh, my computer just turned off. You cannot be a Democrat today and support the Constitution.
Thank you.
Because they are anathema to one another. And so if you are supporting the Second Amendment as a Democrat, then you don't understand the ideology of who you're voting for and who you're supporting and who you're giving money to and time. You cannot be a constitutionalist. You cannot be pro any of the Constitution. Not a thing in it, because everything in the Constitution is against what the Democrat Party stands for.
Exactly. Exactly.
I'm sorry, did I steal your thunder?
No. I enjoyed your flame. Holler.
Well, I am flaming.
Hey. You're listening today. You have the outstanding pleasure of listening to the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, who is merely a peon serving the great underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, on New Day Black and Red here on WNJC 1360 AM, your station for Conservative Commandos Radio.
About 2 years and you're still complaining about Second Billy.
I feel a Batman Robin cartoon coming on here. I feel a slap coming. But want to ask you, why do you think, sir, we need to have Article 5? Especially, is it because Rubio said we need an Article 5 convention? What's with this?
Go ahead.
Are you turning on me, sir?
I've been calling for Article 5 for over a year now, maybe 2. I've been talking about it as the way to save this country. And I was doing it before Mark Levin was doing it. Mark Levin, though, has a bigger footprint in the world than I do. So when he said it, more people started paying attention to it.
Exactly.
But I don't follow Mark Rubio. I'm not sure that I agree with all that much that he says or does. I pretty much have listed him as a rhino and walked away, even though he's got a pretty high conservative rating. But the things he's done, you know, the gangs of 8 and the stuff he's supported and said and amnesty and stuff, I'm just leery of everything he says or does. But Article 5 is a legitimate way to amend the Constitution and to fix problems. And what it does is it bypasses Congress. When Congress won't do its job, it gives the sovereigns of this country an avenue, a method to fix the problem so that we don't have to have an armed insurrection, that we don't have to have another revolution. And if the government does things to prevent this from happening, I suggest to you that we will have a civil war. And we may have one anyway.
Yeah.
Because we're getting rapidly to the position where we're running out of money for the have-nots to take from the haves. And the people that are still willing to work in this country, and that's only about half of us. And so those people are going to probably spark a civil war. You know, occupy my toilet seat people, or whatever they're occupying at this time. They're the ones that will probably ignite a civil war. And the sad thing is they'll be the first ones taken out too.
Yeah, it's true. Very
right,
true.
Because they're nothing but targets, and because they can't do anything by themselves or for themselves. All they can do is whine and beg and demand.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if they spark a civil war, they'll end up getting wiped out.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrat voter base very likely will be wiped out in a civil war. And but I'm not saying this because it's a good thing or that I want it to happen. I'm saying that this would be a travesty, but it would probably happen.
Yeah, and
but the Article 5 gives us an outlet to prevent revolution. That's the whole idea. Was that look, under the Articles of Confederation, there was no way to fix it,
mm-hmm.
and there was no way to amend it unless you had unanimous consent on everything. And so these people, these delegates that went to go fix, quote unquote, the Articles of Confederation, were all instructed that if you could not find a way to fix Articles of Confederation, introduce a new constitution. Now, we weren't hoodwinked or snookered or look what they did and now we got to be afraid of this. But that wasn't an Article 5 convention either. It was a constitutional convention. Mm-hmm. And that's what it turned into. Now, the Article 5 prevents a constitutional convention. In fact, the Constitution says that another constitutional convention in America is illegal.
Yeah.
It's not constitutional. Now, that doesn't stop the Democrat Party and some people in the Republican leadership from violating the Constitution on other things, but I'm telling you that if they did introduce a new Constitution, that would create a civil war in this country. A revolution, Mac. It wouldn't be even a civil war. I think it would just be a flat-out new revolution of us throwing out the tyrants.
Mm-hmm.
They would make the Tea Party look, the Boston Tea Party look like dinner or high tea with the Queen. The Article 5 was created by the brilliant members of the Constitutional Convention in one purpose behind it, and that was we're going to establish a constitution. We're going to make it amendable so that the people don't have to overthrow government to fix it when government screws up. And not a person there thought government would not screw up. Everyone there knew that government would grow. Everybody there knew that government would become tyrannical. Mm-hmm. They didn't know how long it would take, but they knew it would happen. And they put this in so that either Congress can rein back the other branches of government or we the people can rein back Congress. Mm-hmm. And so it's a good thing, it's healthy, and it's legitimate. And there is no fear of anything else happening because they can't introduce a new constitution without violating the Constitution. Now, can they do things like, can they go in there and introduce an amendment that eliminates the Second Amendment? Well, sure, Congress could do that today if they wanted to. When Congress was a majority of Democrats, they could have introduced an amendment. Why didn't they? Mm-hmm. Well, because they knew that we the people would shut it down and that they could not get it supported by a number of states, enough states to support it. What I'm thinking is if we're going to have an Article 5 convention, we better do it soon while there's still enough people that are literate and know what the heck the rights are and the privileges and freedoms that we have, the liberties we enjoy. Because every year we delay doing this is just that many more people who have no clue
yeah.
what we're talking about.
Now, in terms of the Article 5, because here's the question that a lot of us get, and here's my question too, because
ask me anything.
I'm gonna ask you something. Can I ask you something? Here it is. There are those who fear that the rhinos will take charge of an Article 5 conference, and that they would side with the socialists, Marxists, and communists on the opposite side of the table, and we wouldn't be able to repeal the 17th Amendment, giving states rights again. We wouldn't be able to take away the income tax. How do we control what's done at an Article 5 convention?
Okay, this is a simple one here, and I'm glad you asked me this.
I'm glad I asked it.
Yeah. Let me put it like this. I thoroughly believe that the rhinocrats in this country will do everything they can to take over the process, because that's what they do. And they have more to fear from an Article 5 convention than do the Democrats. Because we know who they are and what they're standing for, and we're against them, and they know this. And they are only in the Republican Party because of the decision that was made a long time ago that they would have progressives in both political parties to pursue and promote the agenda. And so here's what you do. You have the state governments, which are more conservative than and constitutionally minded than the central government, okay? So these state legislatures, they tend to be that way. Not all of them, but most of them. And so when you call for an Article 5 convention, you say, this is what we're going to talk about. This is all we're going to talk about. And you make an agreement amongst the other states that this is what we're going to look at. Like, say, we're going to look at repealing the 17th Amendment. And then you say nothing else, or you add other things, whatever. I'm just giving you an example, right? It can be whatever. But all the states have to pretty much agree to it. Now, here's the beautiful thing. Congress doesn't pick the delegates. And I would strongly urge, because the state legislatures decide who's going to be the delegates to these Article 5 conventions, I would strongly urge that every state legislature says no politicians, period.
Yeah.
State or federal, or not federal, that's national, right? That no elected politicians are allowed to participate. I would also recommend that they say that only 10% are allowed to be lawyers, and only 10% are allowed to be teachers, because we're the ones that have screwed all that up. All the lawyers, politicians, and teachers are the ones that have screwed this country up, so there's no reason to run to them for the answers. I would rather randomly select people out of the phone book than that. But anyway, you choose your delegates and you send them to this convention. Now, if, like, say, Texas, and every state gets to determine how many delegates they're going to send. But the beautiful thing is, if Texas sends 23 delegates, because we're a big state and we have the most Republicans or whatever, so we send 23 delegates. But it doesn't matter, because Texas only gets one vote at the convention. And so does Delaware, only one vote, right? So that's why, like under the Founding Fathers, they sent 3 people generally, and because they wanted an odd number. And each state, when they made a vote or decision, 2 out of the 3 had to decide in the affirmative or the negative, and that was the majority. And then that's how that state voted. And so it was a nice check and balance there. But here's the beautiful thing. We're at the convention. We're talking about, say, the 17th Amendment and repealing it, or maybe the 16th Amendment, repealing it too. And then some turkey introduces the concept of repealing the Second Amendment.
Yes.
Well, if Texas's delegates vote to allow that, guess what Texas gets to do? Recall its delegates, fire them, and send new ones with new orders on how to vote, and then they vote against it. Now, the majority of this country is conservative. The majority of state legislatures are Republican. And the majority of a convention of the states would be also. Now, could the Democrats try something? Sure. But they are so far afield that if we actually got a constitutional convention, I misspoke, if we actually got a Article 5 convention, a convention of the states together, I would argue that in order to get that passed and created and done, that the wackadoodles on the left wing would not be able to introduce anything because we would be constitutionally minded. And as long as, and here's the rub, as long as we pay attention to what's going on at this convention, and I would imagine if something like this happened, it would be so unprecedented because it hasn't happened before, that we would all pay attention to it like we used to, you know, when a shuttle took off. Everybody would pay attention. Then it became so commonplace, no one paid attention to it. But this would be the first time ever, and I would imagine it would have wall-to-wall news coverage, commentary, and the rhinocrats and the Democrats would be spending every ounce of their energy and money to convince us of what's going wrong with it and why we need to do something else. But as long as we paid attention and we recalled anybody that got out of line, then I don't think we have any worries. Plus, get this. If the convention says we're going to get rid of the Second Amendment, then what happens next? Does the Second Amendment go away? No. It has to go to the states and get ratified, just like any amendment would. And so after it leaves the convention, it goes to the American people, and then the American people have to decide if we're going to vote for this or not. And the same thing I said earlier, why the Democrats haven't bothered to try and get rid of the Second Amendment when they had all the power, is because they knew that we, the people, would not do it. And the same thing would happen. The convention magically decides somehow it's going to change the Second Amendment, and then we all vote it down, and it doesn't happen. We vote no on the Second Amendment, we vote yes on the 16th and 17th, and then it's a success. These people that are, and here's the thing, the people who are scared of the Article 5 remedies, they don't bother me, because I can understand through history why you would be afraid of what's going on, because you have no faith in the politicians.
Yeah.
Why would they suddenly start doing things right now? Well, the whole thing about the Article 5 is we can take it out of the politicians' hands. But, and this is the thing that I'm afraid of, are these people, and this is what I talked about on my last show. I started doing it, and I got sidetracked because of trolls, but I started talking about these people who are calling for an Article 5 convention, but they're not doing it because they believe like you and I. They're doing it to get out ahead of this so that the rhinocrats can take charge of it and bamboozle us. Because they know that the majority of us don't know really what's going on, and we're too lazy to find out. And so when you have someone like a Rubio calling for it, I'm actually suspicious.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
exactly.
If Bush was to do it, I'd be suspicious. So
exactly.
There was another. There's another rhinocrat out there that's calling for it too.
Huckabee
That worries me.
Huckabee is calling for it.
That's it.
And there already are talks that there have been private discussions amongst leaders in this country on the conservative side about marking out the territory of the Article 5 and what happens when Kentucky finally gets its conservative legislature with their new black conservative lieutenant governor with power in the Senate to override what the Democrats put through. We are just 2 states away from having an Article 5 convention.
And remember, all that is that we'll have the convention. We can simply decide not to, or to control what it's going to talk about. And it's the ones that are being supported right now are very, very limited on what they're talking about, even talking about. I think too limited.
Yeah.
In fact, yeah.
Let me make my opinion here, and then I will and dour recognition of your power and authority and might and wisdom. I say that we should consider all of the amendments after the 10.
We can eliminate them all.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And so we're in concord. I feel so much more brilliant because you agree with me.
Well, let me ask you this, Ken. Why do we have all those amendments?
I don't even know, sir. Besides the fact that maybe the tyrannical president Abraham Lincoln started the process.
Well, most of them were done by the Republican Party.
Yeah.
Trying to force the Democrat Party to treat black people like human beings.
Well, yeah, you can look at it that way too, sir.
That's why they were. So my argument here is that we now live in a day and age where, you know, black people don't have to be afraid of being slaves again. And so they can vote, they can hold jobs, they can get houses. And for that matter, most of the Democrats pretend to like black people now.
Exactly.
And so we don't need all these amendments. The Constitution itself had everything that we needed the entire time, and we could have found better ways to make it happen. But they chose the amendment process to try and force the Democrats into doing the right thing. And now they're being used against us by the Democrats, you know, and they become a danger now. And they're harming minorities in this country, but they're also harming the majority because of the way the Democrats are using them, especially the judicial systems. If I was to have a convention of states, one of the things I would do would be to get rid of the 16th and 17th Amendments, introduce a sales tax, you know, consumption tax, and I would also introduce an amendment that everybody in the judicial system is fired, and we start all over with a whole new court system, and that there is a impeachable litmus test that if you make a decision that falls out of the concept, the limitations of the Constitution, then you're fired. And so if you are a judge and you make a ruling that Congress can pass a law about the restriction of gun sales in America in any way, shape, or form, then you're impeached because the Constitution says that Congress will not make any laws about that or about religion, you know, etc. And so if you do that, then you're legislating from the bench, you're acting in an unconstitutional manner, and you're automatically impeached. And we also need to set it up where every single judge and justice is voted up or down every year by we the people.
I agree with you on all of that. I think we should I think we need to consider the lifetime appointment as well of the chief justices and the justices of the Supreme Court.
Well, I'm okay with them being appointed for life, but they need an up or down vote every year to continue serving. You know, because even though they're appointed for life today, Ken, it's only if they do faithful service.
Yeah.
So if they become senile, we can get rid of them. We don't, but we can, but we won't. So we need to make it easier to pull the trigger on that. And the reason I'm so boisterous about the judicial system, and when there's so many other things we could do and fix, is because the left has stacked the entire judicial system up and down from the lowest justice of the peace to the Supreme Court with as many people that hate the Constitution as they could find. And so this is being allowed to perpetuate because all of these judges and justices are making unconstitutional decisions based on political party ideology and not on what the Constitution says, be it a state or the central government Constitution. And we need to fix that or we will never have anything that we do survive.
Well, it is far better than letting Shakespeare take charge of the Article 5 convention, where his advisement is to kill all the lawyers.
Yes. I call that a good start.
That's a good start. The Constitution of the United States, Article 5 says the Congress, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, shall propose amendments to this Constitution, or, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, which, in either case, shall be valid to all intents and purposes as part of this Constitution, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, or by conventions in 3/4 thereof, as the one or the other mode, a ratification may be proposed by the Congress, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808 shall in any manner after the first and fourth clauses in the 9th section of the first article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. Literally, that was the no slavery clause right there, right?
Right. It was mostly to keep people from, after the ratification of the Constitution, from then rolling in with a new amendment and banning slavery. And so in order to get the votes of the southern states to ratify the Constitution, they had to make that promise, and they kept it. But again, everything was set up in the Constitution so that after that period, slavery should have ended all on its own.
Yes.
But we were betrayed by our politicians. And here's the beautiful thing about an Article 5 Convention of the States decision to amend the Constitution, and that is Congress is nothing but a record keeper of it. They have no role except for to put in the congressional record that it was called, and then they enter into the congressional record what was decided. And maybe they can enter the stuff that's debated during it, but that the convention decides. So they enter that a convention was called for, and they enter that decision of the convention, and that's all Congress's role is. The executive branch, i.e. the president, has zero role in the amendment process, whether Congress calls it or the Convention of the States does it. And the next thing about it that I love is that not a court in the land, not even the Supreme Court, can rule the decisions of a Convention of the States amendment process unconstitutional. Because whatever is decided in the Convention of States, if it's ratified by the states, we get a 3/4 ratification of the states, then that is constitutional because it has now amended the Constitution. And so the only thing the Supreme Court can say is, yep, it's constitutional because it was amended that way. And that's all they can do.
That's all that they can do.
And so they can't come by later and say, oh, you guys don't know what you're doing. You're a bunch of peasants, and we're going to fix this.
And if they legislate for the bench, they become unfaithful, and thus they lose their position. Bingo.
Well, they should be, yes.
Done deal.
We would do it.
Well, we're going to do it after we do the convention. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to WNJC 1360 AM, New Day Black and Red. Your host, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones. Your peon co-host, the exceptional one, Ken McClinton. I will now give what is been waited for by bated breath.
That's me bating my breath.
John Hancock, first signer of the Declaration of Independence, gave this quote.
Naughty man.
What? Thank
You're a naughty man.
you. Yes, I am. Resistance to tyranny becomes the Christian and social duty of each individual. Continue steadfast and with a proper sense of your dependence on God, nobly defend those rights which heaven gave, and no man ought to take from us. That was John Hancock. He was the one with the big handprint on the Declaration of Independence. The reason why he could say that, and I'll give you two scriptures in very short order. Jeremiah 17:5. Jeremiah 17:5. The prophet Jeremiah spoke these words, as given to him from the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, cursed be the man that trusteth in man, and maketh flesh his arm, and withdraweth his heart from the Lord. When we put our faith and our confidence in the person that we send to Washington, D.C., or to our state legislature, or even to our town hall, and we say that that person shall lead us, we have undutifully served both God and this nation. It is our role and our responsibility to send ambassadors of our freedom, of our liberty, and our pursuit of happiness to those particular distinct places in which they will defend the rights of life, liberty, and happiness for us, not take them from us. And then lastly, Proverbs 24:21. My son, fear the Lord and the king, and meddle not with them that are seditious. Ladies and gentlemen, there are those who wish to take you from the freedoms that God has given you and man has observed. There are those who propose to you that the third Bill of Rights, known as the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, is the most apt evolution of this nation. As I don't believe I was born of monkey or descended from ape, I certainly don't believe that we need to evolve any further out of this particular nation. We must return back to the instrument that made us a constitutionally federated republic, and that was our U.S. Constitution, built on the firm foundation of the Declaration of Independence. It is our role as Christians not to sit here and also lead others into the unenviable state of slavery, but it is our role and responsibility to keep each and every one of us free. Freedom will cost you, and it means that maybe you don't get that government contract, maybe you don't get that government job, maybe you don't vote for someone who's willing to take away the life of a child or to take away your ability to defend your family. Maybe the sacrifice is that you will uphold and preserve the Constitution and keep its guarantee of being a republic and not a democracy. What say you, sir?
Amen.
Amen. That was beautiful. I loved it. This was a fast 1 hour of New Day Black and Red. And it's only because we have the gifted one here, the underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones. I happen to just come along because I'm pretty.
Well, not only do you provide colored commentary, but you also are here for the looks.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the episode today of New Day Black and Red. We'll be back next week with more conversation from a biblical and constitutional point of view of our culture. On behalf of the great producer, Rick Trader from Conservative Commandos Radio Network, on behalf of the great underground professor, Dr. Michael Jones, I'm the exceptional one, Ken McClinton, wishing you the very happiest of New Year's, and God bless us as we recover our republic.
Everyone.
Amen.
It's better to be a coward than to live your life free.
Yeah, something like that. I say that it's better to be free than to live cowardly. In fact, a friend of mine told me to live bravely and don't die a coward. I promise you that I always will. Always remember, without a shadow of a doubt, for those who are listening to the exceptionalconservativeshow.com, that God has blessed America. It's time for America to bless God. God bless and have a wonderful evening. Love ya. Smooches!
Doodles!
God bless you, sir.
It was fun, Ken. Thank you.
Fun. Always fun. I gotta talk with you tomorrow. All right, sir?
Yeah, do that. And email me the show so I can listen to it. You know, if you send me the email for each one, I can listen to it while I'm working now.
Oh, cool.
I figured out how to do it. That's the only way I can do it is if you email that link
I will,
to your...
I will promise
you. Whatever it is you're doing.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, yada, yada. Yada to the yada.
Yeah.
To the number one urban conservative talk show host in America, Dr. Michael Jones.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Probably I take that honor.
You are the first black, just as Bill Clinton was. So congratulations, sir.
Well, I'm actually more Native American. I just filled out some paperwork for a mortgage.
Yeah.
And they asked me what my ethnicity was. I said, well, I was born in America, so I'm a Native American. They checked it.
It's all right with me. That works good. Yep. Good night, Professor.
All right. Good night, my friend. Good night, everybody.
Good
Love
night.
you guys. Thank you for fighting with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, remember to tune in to Conservative Commandos Radio Network tomorrow at 3 p.m. Also, 7 a.m. Sunday morning, an American Conservatives Exploration of the Inspired Word of God. I'm your host, Ken McClinton. God bless and good night.